Nathaniel Hayes, a man known for his towering success and sharp mind, was someone the world admired but never truly understood. Despite his wealth, influence, and a name that carried weight in every boardroom, he often found himself haunted by a profound emptiness, a void carved by a tragedy in his past that he rarely spoke of. He lived in solitude, tucked away in his grand mansion, surrounded by material luxuries that could never fill the gaps in his heart. One stormy night, while driving through the city, the rain blurred Nathaniel's vision as it reflected the turmoil of his own emotions. As he turned a corner, the beams of his headlights fell upon two small figures huddled under a dim street lamp. His heart froze. Two young girls, soaking wet, clung to each other for warmth. Their frail forms and trembling shoulders spoke volumes about the harsh realities they were enduring. Without hesitation, Nathaniel stopped his car and stepped out into the cold rain. "Are you all right?" he asked gently, trying not to alarm them. The girls looked up, their faces streaked with rain and tears. One of them, the braver of the two, whispered, "We have nowhere to go." Nathaniel's heart clenched. Something about their plight resonated deeply within him. "Come with me," he said softly, offering them refuge. After a brief hesitation, the girls accepted, and Nathaniel guided them into the warmth of his car. As he drove them to his mansion, he introduced himself and tried to learn their names. "I'm Nathaniel. What are your names?" "Emily," said the older one, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I'm Grace," added the younger, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. Nathaniel sensed that there was more to their story than they were letting on, but he chose not to press them further. When they arrived at his grand home, Nathaniel called upon Margaret, his devoted housekeeper. "Margaret, please take care of the girls. Give them a warm bath, find them some clothes, and prepare something comforting for them to eat." Margaret, a kind-hearted woman who had been with Nathaniel for years, nodded without question. She led Emily and Grace away, leaving Nathaniel alone with his thoughts. That night, Nathaniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the girls and the circumstances that had brought them to him. There was something inexplicably special about them, something that stirred emotions he hadn't felt in years. The next morning, Nathaniel left for a meeting but promised himself he wouldn't be gone long. When he returned home later that day, the house was eerily quiet. The laughter and chatter he had expected were absent. "Margaret? Emily? Grace?" he called out, his voice echoing through the vast corridors. His search led him to the guest room where the girls had slept. On the pillow, he found a neatly folded note. The handwriting was shaky but legible. "Thank you for helping us. We need to tell you something." Confused and concerned, Nathaniel began searching the house more urgently. Eventually, he heard faint laughter coming from the garden. Stepping outside, he found Margaret sitting on the grass, watching Emily and Grace as they picked flowers. Their giggles filled the air, a sound so pure it momentarily eased Nathaniel's worries. When the girls noticed Nathaniel, they ran up to him, each holding a small bouquet. "These are for you," said Emily shyly. Nathaniel knelt down and accepted the flowers, his chest tightening with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. "Thank you," he murmured. "But what is it you wanted to tell me?" Emily and Grace exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice trembling. "We ran away from the orphanage." Nathaniel's heart sank as the girls tearfully recounted their story of neglect and abandonment. Their parents had left them at an orphanage, promising to return but never did. The conditions at the orphanage were harsh, and when the sisters overheard plans to separate them, they decided to flee. Nathaniel listened intently, his heart breaking with every word. He vowed then and there to protect them. "You're safe now," he assured them. "And I promise you'll never have to go back." What Nathaniel didn't realize was that the girls would do more than just bring purpose to his life. They would transform it entirely. In the months that followed, Nathaniel Hayes discovered that his once empty mansion had become a sanctuary of joy and laughter. Emily and Grace, once fragile and fearful, now brimmed with life. Their giggles echoed through the grand hallways, filling every corner of the house with warmth that Nathaniel hadn't known he needed. Yet, amidst this newfound happiness, he knew their past still lingered like a shadow. Resolving their future required more than just love, it demanded action. The adoption process was long and grueling. Nathaniel, with his trusted lawyer Carter and the courageous Olivia, who had revealed the orphanage's dark secrets, fought to ensure the girls would never face the horrors of separation again. Despite obstacles, Nathaniel remained resolute. For every document signed, every court appearance, and every interrogation, he reminded himself of Emily and Grace's tearful plea that day, "Please don't take us back." Months passed, and Nathaniel's bond with the girls grew deeper. They trusted him fully now, calling him Daddy with a sincerity that melted his heart each time. Margaret, his loyal housekeeper, became their surrogate grandmother, ensuring the girls felt nurtured and secure. Olivia, who had become an integral part of their lives, often visited, bringing small gifts and planning fun outings. It was during one such outing that Emily asked Olivia a question that would alter the course of their lives forever. "Miss Olivia," Emily began shyly, her small hands clutching Olivia's as they walked through the garden. "Will you stay with us? Like, forever?" Olivia smiled warmly but hesitated. "Oh, sweetheart, I'll always be here for you and Grace." "But what do you mean by forever?" Emily exchanged a knowing glance with her sister. "You and Daddy should get married." Olivia's face flushed with surprise, but before she could respond, Grace added with the innocence only a child could muster, "You already love us, and Daddy loves you too." "Why not?" Nathaniel, who had overheard the conversation from a distance, stepped forward, his heart pounding. "Girls, why don't you go find Margaret? I think she has cookies waiting for you," he said, his voice gentle but firm. Emily and Grace ran off giggling, leaving Nathaniel and Olivia alone under the golden glow of the afternoon sun. "Did you hear that?" Olivia asked, her voice tinged with nervous laughter. "I did," Nathaniel replied, his gaze steady on hers. "And they're not wrong." Olivia blinked in surprise, but Nathaniel pressed on. "Olivia, since the day you walked into my life, everything has changed. Emily and Grace brought light back into my home, but you've brought it back into my heart." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as Nathaniel dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he pulled a small velvet box, revealing a delicate ring. "You've been the anchor these girls needed and the partner I didn't realize I was searching for. Will you marry me, Olivia? Not just for Emily and Grace, but for us?" Olivia nodded, unable to speak as tears streamed down her face. She leaned down, pulling him into a hug. "Yes, Nathaniel. Yes, 1,000 times yes." When Emily and Grace returned, Margaret whispered the news to them, and they squealed with delight. The girls' joy only confirmed what Nathaniel and Olivia already knew. They were building something extraordinary, a family bound by love and resilience. A few weeks later, the adoption was finalized. Nathaniel stood in court, holding Emily's hand while Grace clutched Olivia's. When the judge declared him their legal father, Emily and Grace threw their arms around him, shouting, "We're a family now." Tears filled the courtroom as onlookers witnessed a moment of pure, unfiltered joy. The celebration at the mansion that evening was nothing short of magical. Lights twinkled in the garden as friends and loved ones gathered to toast this new chapter. Emily and Grace danced barefoot on the grass, their laughter blending with the soft music playing in the background. As the night wore on, Nathaniel and Olivia shared a quiet moment beneath the stars. "This feels like a dream," Olivia whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. "It's real," Nathaniel replied, his voice steady with conviction. "And it's just the beginning." From that day forward, the Hayes Mansion became a true home, a place where love triumphed over loss, where laughter drowned out sorrow, and where hope blossomed in every corner. Nathaniel, Olivia, Emily, and Grace were no longer just a collection of individuals, they were a family. And together, they proved that even the deepest wounds could heal with love, patience, and the courage to embrace second chances.